The story resumes with a lost spearman, wandering not only physically, but within the depths of a mind that no longer reveals any trace of his former life. For days, he has been trekking through the thick jungle, a place that carries its own rhythm of life, a vitality he no longer possesses. He moves amidst the sounds of birds watching him intently from the distance and mosquitoes that quickly veer away upon realizing there is no blood to be drawn from his decaying body. Through the dense undergrowth, Lanza advances with a weary, rhythmic gait, driven by no particular destination. His feet produce an exhausting sound against the jungle floor, while his eyes remain fixed straight ahead, searching for nothing at all. He exists as a hollow vessel in an environment teeming with a pulse that has long since abandoned him, navigating the terrain with the mechanical persistence of the forgotten. In an instant, a single ray of sunlight pierces through the thick canopy, illuminating one specific plant that catches his eye. Like a moth drawn to a flame, Lanza stands there, staring at it for a long while. Nearby, hummingbirds wait with quiet patience, hovering until he finally moves on so they can resume their work among the blossoms in the stillness of the forest. After some time, Lanza resumes his journey until something new pulls at him with an irresistible force. The chirping of a cricket. Such a creature would have been insignificant if he were still alive, but now it reminds him intensely of something he has lost. The colors of the tiny animal bear a striking resemblance to those of his old friend, and for a long while, Lanza follows it through the dense woods. Desperate to be in the same space as the insect, he leaps again and again for hours, chasing it relentlessly through the undergrowth. By the time he manages to get within just a few inches of the small creature, his eyes widen in silent realization. In that moment, he realizes he was right. The insect's colors are a mirror of his companion, and it is a pure delight for him to watch as it eats a leaf or rests quietly for a spell. Lanza doesn't know why, but there is something about this tiny insect that connects deeply to his past. It isn't just the colors that remind him of Colmillo and trigger those visions in his mind. The stripes on the cricket's back evoke the memory of his mount's spine, the very one he rode into battle so many times before. But then everything changes. The cricket slips from his reach, fleeing toward a nearby meadow and vanishing among the thick leaves, hopping from place to place until it falls completely out of sight. For a few moments, Lanza believes his new friend has abandoned him. A wave of desperation and fear, emotions he hadn't felt before in this state, takes hold of his battered, decaying body. But something different happens. The cricket returns and perches right on his hand. It is a hand marked by a sickly, deathly green, yet now it also reveals a faint, rosy tint of life. Is this a sign that Lanza might one day reclaim his humanity, or is it just another flicker of false hope? To him, the only thing that matters right now is the fact that his friend is by his side once again. Lanza is able to look the tiny creature directly in the eyes, and this connection triggers yet another vision in his memory. In this one, he is stroking Colmillo's fur, and unlike the previous visions that were filled with agony, his companion does not seem to be suffering at all. This moment of peace offers a stark contrast to the rot surrounding him, bridging the gap between his grim present and a kinder past. But the cricket, having no clue about the profound emotions it is triggering in our hero, decides to go its own way. It slowly moves away before picking up the pace toward the river, crossing the water with a couple of nimble leaps, while Lanza hurries to keep it in sight. Suddenly, a long, sticky, and hostile tongue darts out from nowhere. It belongs to a lizard whose voracious appetite snatches the cricket and swallows it whole. In that heartbeat, the calm and peace Lanza had been feeling twist into a surge of rage, anger, and a desperate thirst for vengeance. With precise, calculated movements, he closes in on the lizard, grabbing it firmly with his dead hand and applying pressure. He doesn't use enough force to crush the creature, but just enough to pry its jaws open and rescue his new friend. Curled up on the lizard's tongue, the cricket lies covered in slime, yet its tiny heart is still beating. Lanza picks it up with immense care, shielding it within his hands to ensure that nothing else can cause it harm, and walks away from that dangerous spot, determined to protect the only spark of life he has left. A short while later, he finds himself by a waterfall. From there, he surveys his surroundings until he hears the cricket's song echoing from inside his hand. Upon opening his palms, he notices with a smile that his friend is doing well. The cricket allows itself to stay in his hand. Having faced death firsthand in the jaws of the lizard, it no longer senses that same threat coming from the undead man standing before it. With a flutter of its wings, it seems to thank our hero for saving its life, and Lanza remains motionless with his companion until the sun dips below the horizon and night falls. Suddenly, a cluster of glowing yellow eyes appears among the bushes, followed by the cackling laughter of creatures he has never heard before. Lanza reacts instantly with raw violence. He stands up abruptly, swings his arm, and lets out a powerful roar to drive the scavengers away. Shortly after, he returns to his spot and stays there until dawn, perfectly still, soaking in his friend's song while keeping his hands clasped together to shield the tiny creature from the dangers lurking in the shadows. When the morning sun finally emerges, Lanza allows himself to open his hands, but in an instant the cricket takes flight and speeds away from our hero. The sheer terror of losing it sends Lanza sprinting desperately through the undergrowth. He plunges into the deepest part of the woods, letting out a haunting cry for help, as if he were calling out to his old friend Colmillo in a moment of total despair. After a few seconds of agonizing silence, the cricket begins to chirp from the very top of a nearby tree. Spotting it there, Lanza grabs hold of a vine, intending to climb up to it, but even in death his body remains incredibly heavy. Despite this, the giant manages to haul himself toward the treetops, fighting his own weight every inch of the way. But at the very last second, the vine snaps under the strain, and he plummets toward the ground with violent force. His massive frame hits the earth with such velocity and power that he breaks right through the surface, ending up trapped in a subterranean cave with no clear way to escape. The hole he fell through is far too high. There is no way for him to reach it from down there, so his only option is to trek through the darkness to find an exit. The cave's absolute gloom forces him to move slowly, feeling the walls with his hands as he goes. He is unable to see what is right in front of his face, yet he refuses to stop. Suddenly he hears something behind him and knows instinctively that danger is lurking. Before he can react or even spot the threat, he hears it right beneath him. Looking down, he notices with horror that a strange, deformed, and starving creature is calmly devouring his leg. Its two enormous front fangs sink into his skin, tearing away small chunks of flesh like a monstrous version of a squirrel craving his rotting body. Without hesitation, Lanza reacts, grabbing the thing by its skull and hurling it against the cave wall. In that moment, he realizes the creature is blind, navigating solely by scent or sound as it lunges at him again, driven by its small size and oversized lethal teeth. In response to the attack, Lanza uses his foot to crush the creature's skull with his sheer body weight, splattering its blood across the floor. However, the death of one of their own does not go unnoticed by the rest of the pack. From every direction, hundreds upon hundreds of these creatures emerge, all of them furious, starving, and thirsty for his blood. They swarm Lanza in a frantic mass. Though they are small and light on their own, their numbers give them a lethal advantage. The scene fades to black with the image of our hero being dragged down by the sheer force of these beasts. When he finally